What's up, everyone? Thank you for checking out this episode of Raised a Geek. This week, we each reveal our five favorite movies of 2023, as well as touch on some of our other favorites across the geek medium. Let's get into it. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Don. How we doing, man?
Chris, what is up today, my friend? Everything is good. Can't complain too much. I'm well on
Even though
this
it's snowing
January.
there, you can complain a
Yeah,
little bit
little January snow. Our for you know what I can't though because it's been a mild winter so
so
far.
far.
I know we're like the weather guys. We talk about each other's weather to start things off. How's the weather? Um, it's
How
snowing.
old are we?
It's snowing here in the Midwest. But yeah, it's okay. You come to expect it in January, but besides that, I'm okay. Everything's good. Little weekend relaxation going on. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Being a little bit of the Tim the Tool Man Taylor this Saturday, installing a new garage door opener. So as of right now, my garage door opens and closes, which it hasn't done in a couple months. So I feel kind of
Favorite.
proud about that. I got that to work. Hopefully it stays working. I fixed the old one a couple times, but it only lasted like a day, and I was like, ugh.
You feel
So
accomplished. You
I
feel
do
very
feel
accomplished.
really accomplished and like, all right, sweet, sweet.
When
I'm
you
good. So
knocking out a task, knocking out a
yeah.
household task feels good to your adult man heart.
Right. Yeah, you just feel accomplished, feel good, feel like
Mm.
I could do anything. So I'm all pumped up. Outside of that, I've literally just been watching more movies than I think I've watched all year, trying to like get in all the good stuff before the end of the year so we could talk about some stuff and we can, have an actual discussion and have some contenders for things in our list
Well,
instead of just random, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
that's the thing we kind of have touched on with each other like off air, being like, why does this seem like it happens every year where all these um the better crop of movies all comes out so late, and it's because like award season's right around the corner and studios want like their stuff to be at the top of your mind, I think is the thinking there.
Mhm.
But it sucks for like us in situations like this where it's like, well, I want to see some of these things before the awards start giving out and all the buzz is going around now at the end of the year. It's like, but now there's too much. Now there's like, I can't watch 15 movies and feel not like a complete piece of trash that I've just
Mhm.
watched 15 movies in a couple weeks. Yeah,
What
but it's a thing that happens every year.
Yeah, of course, and we'll keep working on that. What, since we're talking about that, what slipped by? What weren't you able to get in that you really wanted to or would like to? Do you have anything off the top of your head?
I think a lot of them, if I'm naming movies off of that list, would be things that are still in theaters a
Hmm.
lot, because a lot of them, they're talking about for award season, but you have to go to the movies to see them. I don't have time to go to the movies a bunch of times.
Right.
So like, Iron Claw, Poor Things. um I mean, I'm sure there's a couple others that I'm not thinking of right now, but there's like some stuff in theaters that you can't watch at home yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I kind of got to either wait or go. And I'm more likely to wait than go. you know,
Hmm.
I don't get, and a lot of movies like that are kind of smaller studio, not as big release. Like you can't find those at every theater. And if you can, they have very limited showings. So it
Yeah.
gets a little challenging. So yeah, I think the things that are still in theaters is a little challenging right now.
I agree. Those were two that I kept looking at showtimes to try to see if I could make anything work, and I couldn't. The other one that I was not able to get in that I had plenty of time to do it and plenty of opportunity, and I just never did, was I still haven't seen John Wick 4,
Hmm.
which I know you haven't seen any John Wick movies, but that was a big movie. It came out. And I was all ready for the show, and it got hit with my problem where I see a 3 hour length, and I'm like, why is John Wick 4 3 hours long? I can't do it, and I still haven't done it. I started it on New Year's Eve, but then midnight happened, and so I got like 30 minutes in. Like I started literally like 11:30 at night. I don't know what I was doing. I was like, let me watch John Wick 4.
Yeah,
Did not get it in, so
that's a good one.
got in a
I
lot of
think
good stuff.
I think all those John Wick movies are on Netflix now. When I was on the other day, because they're all in like the top 10
Yeah.
movies of their algorithm or whatever. And I was looking at that, the progression of lengths. Like the first one's like 2 hours, and the second one goes up to 2:15 or 2:20, and then the next one's a little bit longer. So like the natural progression of those movies is
Like
for them
20
to be
minutes
long.
longer each time. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Oh, maybe I'll get in a John Wick one of these one day.
Yeah. They're worth a watch. And I can't necessarily say if part four is worth it, but that was something I did want to see that I didn't get a chance to.
It happens.
Before we talk about some movies, let's kind of go through some of the other topics. They're not as, we didn't put as much deliberation, I guess, into them. So we wanted to talk about some of our other favorite things of 2023 before we jump into our movies, which we haven't told each other anything. Our script literally just says favorite TV, favorite games, favorite comics, favorite movies, and we don't know what the other one's going to say. So ad
We
lib,
we might be completely different, or our lists could be identical. We
yeah.
don't know.
And knowing us,
That's
there's
probably not.
there's a chance.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I know TV, they always say we live in the golden age of TV and, cable TV shows and streaming shows and everything is just kind of booming right now. Was there any TV shows that stood out to you this year as being like, yes, this was just like a moment that I was glad I was a part of?
Um, yeah, and the funny part is like we kind of talked about it too. Like we've had less of an emphasis on TV this year, it seems like,
Hmm.
than in years past. So my little list I have of things that I really liked, we've kind of already talked about on this show.
Hmm.
Uh, but I do have a little. I think I don't know. I guess I'll start with what I think was the best TV show of the year was Succession still to me, and that was earlier in the year, so I had to think back, and it's kind of tied with The Last of Us. I think those were the best two shows of the year. I mean, we kind of said that at the beginning of the year when we reviewed The Last of Us. Like, is any show going to beat this? And really, nobody did except Succession touched it
Yeah.
for my entertainment purposes. And then besides that, I mean, three other shows we already talked about on here was Twisted Metal, Gen V, and Invincible.
I forgot about Twisted Metal.
Yeah, I liked those three a lot.
That is getting a season two.
I know. Yeah,
So
we
that's
that was cool. I mean, the only other show besides those that we never had a conversation about was The Fall of the House of Usher. Um, really enjoyed that show, and a show from what's his name, Mike Flanagan.
yeah.
Another in his portfolio of horror shows. I think he's one of the better uh horror minds in Hollywood right now,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that show was no exception. So yeah, kind of a light year for TV, but I think those are my standouts. You got anything different from that?
Nope. I know I really think Succession was the best show on TV. It gave the most like it The Last of Us, if I didn't play the game and know the story backwards and forwards, The Last of Us could have been like a lot of moments could have been
Mhm.
like stuck with me moments. Succession, because I didn't know where the story was going, Succession had those moments that just stick in your head. And when you look back and think about it, like I had so much more like emotional moments just thinking about Succession than The Last of Us because I've already kind of exhausted the emotion out of The Last of Us. So
Mm,
I think it's just kind of one of those things. But I know in this, I guess probably dive into spoilers for just a second. But like that third episode, Connor's wedding,
mm,
when all just off camera out of the blue, they just killed Logan. Like
mm.
I still remember that episode. I still remember watching that episode. I still remember feeling that episode. Like that was heavy, just like amazing television. And I didn't feel anything else like that episode all year.
Yeah, there hasn't been an episode of TV like that in a long time.
No.
That's an important episode of TV in the history of TV.
Yeah.
Like it just is.
Yeah. It was amazing. And the things that show was able to do is just, it makes it one of the best shows of the year. And because of that, it was just like every other show. Both those shows kind of came out back to back at the beginning of the year, January, February, and after that, it was just like I don't care about anything else.
I
Everything
don't
else
think
is garbage to me, which I know isn't true, but
I don't think anything else is going to touch this, and it really didn't. So
not at all, not at all. So that's our
yeah,
TV conversation.
there we go.
What about some video games? Anything stand out that we don't really do too much gaming talk on here, but anything kind of stand out for you that was just like, yes.
the two that came to my head, like the right off the bat, just thinking of video games, were my two favorite games of the year to play. Which number one, we had an episode on. It was just Spider-Man 2.
Hmm.
Um, I to me that's game of the year. Granted, there's games that I haven't played that did win, like
Of course.
Baldur's Gate and things like that. But to me, games I personally played, Spider-Man 2 had it all. It had the action I wanted, the story I wanted. Love Spider-Man. Like as you see back here behind me, the Spider-Man thing. He's like my favorite comic character. He's in an awesome game series. So that's my game of the year. And like close behind, I'd say probably I had a lot of fun with Resident Evil 4.
Hmm.
Um, just love Resident Evil games. You and I have talked about it. It's one of our favorite series, I think, collectively, and arguably Resident Evil 4 is the best one of all of
Right.
them.
Right.
So just like a new updated version of that with like faster loading and crisper graphics and replaying that again is just, that's my idea of fun for a video game. So
Hmm.
uh plus the bonus content that came out with Ada like a few months later just added to it like an extra chapter. So that was my two that really hit off the top of my head.
I
What do
had
you?
those I had those two, and the only other one I was putting in there was Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16. We did get a new Final Fantasy this year. We've talked on here as well as with each other. We're big Final Fantasy people. We were there day one after we played that demo and was like, hell yeah. And looking back at it, I feel like it got really kind of lost in the noise of a lot of things and it didn't really stand out, but and it was a different kind of Final Fantasy game, but there were moments in that game where I was like, holy shit. And some of those boss battles were like things I've never seen before outside of like a God of War game, you know?
Mhm.
Um, they were just insanity and you know, chaining the magic together and doing everything. I mean, I really want to jump back into that game. I did buy the season pass when they announced it last month. I do want to do more Final Fantasy, so it's one of those games that's still kind of hung in there. um Outside of that, we spent a lot of time playing Remnant, which didn't come out this year, so shout out to Remnant Shadows of the Ashes or whatever it was called.
Dust of the Ashes or something.
Dust of the Ashes. But Remnant was cool, and we did pick up Remnant 2, which did come out this year, but we, haven't had a chance to put in as much time as we would have liked.
Yeah, we've been neglecting it. Put
Oh
it
yeah.
so we're that's on the list. That's on the list.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the other things we like to talk about on this show is comic books. And I know we don't do it as often, but we still are avid comic book readers, and we have our to read piles sitting right here. And I'm always going to check in our boxes. Anything stand out that came out this year, or just something you got into comic book wise this year?
Yeah, I mean, I have to preface this part by saying my backlog is ridiculous.
Mine
I
too.
have so I have so many things I need to read. Video games need to quit getting in my way. And sports. Damn you, NFL. You're almost over though. So I have some more time.
Yeah,
But
it's been
yeah,
crazy this year.
as we're sitting here both
I know
watching
it's
the
sitting right
Steelers
there.
Ravens as we're doing the show.
Hmm.
Um yeah, but a couple things stood out to me comic book wise this year. I'm like I kind of was able to tell myself these were the important things to me because even as my list is big, I still found time to like read these.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you're familiar with Kyle Starks, but he's a author who's written some stuff I like, and he had like three books come out this year that I liked all of them. Um, one called "I Hate This Place," another one "Where Monsters Lie," and then he's also those are two Image books, and then he's also doing one for DC, which is a Peacemaker book. It's like Peacemaker tries hard, and it's really good. Like
Really?
I didn't expect to like Peacemaker as a character on that show, and we love that show. And then like he also has this comic book that's great. I'm like, dude, this is good. And then like I said, his two other Image books, um, Where Monsters Lie is about like this cul-de-sac in this suburban neighborhood where everyone who lives in this cul-de-sac is like a serial killer, and they're all kind of like trying to keep their secret and but
Hmm.
still kill people but stay off the police's radar, and then shit goes
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's only like 5 or 6 issues, but it's good. And I Hate This Place is something not similar, but like these two girls who are a couple like decide to move from the big city and move to this farm that like one of their grandfathers left them. But when they get there, all this weird shit starts happening at night, like there's ghosts and demons and stuff outside. But they figure out as soon as they run into the house, these demons can't get them. So they're like they can't get into the house, and then all this crazy shit happens, and they got to figure out what's going on. It's a good book. So those have been my three. I really liked Saga this year. I know we talked about Saga, but Happy Saga came back. That's another book I've been reading a lot. And Jeff Lemire has also written a lot of good stuff this year. Um,
Yeah, he had a
Fan-
lot come out this year. I couldn't
yeah,
even keep
he
up with everything he had coming out this year.
no, he did like Phantom Road and Tenement, which was one of the Bone Orchard mythos books. And he has his own where he writes and draws like Fireflies going on right now. So
And they did I think this year the 10,000 Black Feathers, like
yeah,
4 episode issues were this year.
yeah,
So Jeff Lemire, was all about Jeff Lemire. Tom King kind of just kept staying in DC realm.
yeah.
I've enjoyed the first few issues of his Wonder Woman that he's doing. I've enjoyed the first few issues of the Penguin he's doing. Um, those ones stand out from a Tom King standpoint of what he's did. Another one that I think came out this year,
Hmm.
but I could be wrong because the year is long when you try to look back at it. But it was due a power bomb this year, or did it start last year?
I think we talked about it last year because I think
Did
it
we?
ended at the end of 2022.
Okay.
Because I was thinking that because if that was this year, I'd be like, oh, that's number one.
Yeah. So I might have read it this year, like
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
sat and read the whole thing this year. But that's a solid, Daniel Warren Johnson. You really can't go wrong with him across the board. One of his older ones, I think, is just getting dropped, reprinted in trade, but I can't remember what it was called. I know it's not Murder Falcon. It was one that he did before that, I think. Can't
He's got
remember what it's called now because I'm
Wonder.
terrible.
He's got Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. He's got Extremity. Um, he did some other book with Donnie Cates that he drew. He's doing Transformers right now, which I
Yeah.
have all the issues and haven't started yet.
I read the first one, it was really good, and then I've been collecting.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of comics. The other one I know came out in 20, I think it had to because they're on like issue 16 that did come out last year, but I really got into it this year, and I probably talked about it last year as well, which is What's the Furthest Place from Here? I read it, I kind of dug it, but then this year I kind of sat and started over with it and really got into it. And it's kind of like I know we talked about it with a Murakami movie.
Hmm.
Like after you went and saw The Boy and His Heron, it's like I'm watching it. I love it. It's beautiful. If you ask me what's about and what's going on, I can't tell you. But I really got into that one this year. Like it has a good vibe. So
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree. I'll agree with that.
So I definitely got into that one. I mean, I can name a bunch of comic books that I bought this year.
Right.
But as you said,
We'll get to him. We'll get to him.
the past like 6 months with for whatever reason, football was crazy this year of being like, here, we're going to give you a game Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And you only had like 2 days to do everything else.
We're the NFL. We want to control your life from the months of whatever to January.
And they kind of did from
Yeah.
August to February. We're kind of screwed. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll get back on track, everyone. We'll get back on track with everyone.
Mhm.
Uh, but man, let's talk about some movies. Let's get into
Let's do
this.
it.
I'm dying to know your list because we've been like teasing each other with this. How many movies are we going to tell each other? What are we going to do? So I'm definitely interested in that. Before we get to our number five, are there any honorable mentions, things that almost made your list that you still want to shout out
I
to the
mean, I'm
masses?
sure, of course, there's going to be some because when you start whittling down this list, like you were having trouble with figuring out what your number five movie is, I had those same issues. So
Yep.
there's going to be like, you want to pick the best five, but then you're looking at these couple little other ones sitting over here, like, but that one really, I really liked it. It deserves to be in, but I can't put it in over this. I
Yep.
feel like I'm on the damn college football championship committee trying to decide who deserves a spot and who doesn't.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, of course, I have some. Let me pull up this list. First one I'll say definitely deserves, I think, a little recognition. Even though it didn't make my top five, was a movie we did talk about on here a little bit. No One Will Save You,
Mm.
which came out earlier this year. Only and it was on Hulu for some reason and not theaters. We even had a conversation about, Disney could have made some money by putting this thing in theaters. Um, yeah, just a good kind of thriller alien movie
Hmm.
with little only one line of dialogue in the entire thing. Oh yeah, we're gonna be giving some spoilers here, so like spoilers
Spoilers.
for these movies. If you hear us name something that you haven't seen, just fast forward a little bit or come back to it
Yeah.
after you've watched it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that movie was really well acted by Caitlin Dever. She was kind of the star, Devers or Dever. Um, our next Abby, maybe.
Future Abby. Yeah.
Uh,
She better be in the gym as she's listening to this.
but she was really good in that movie. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool original concept when it's hard to find original concepts left. Like we've all seen alien movies, but have you seen one where the person's by themselves and they don't have anyone to talk to, so there's no talking? Like that doesn't that's kind of crazy if you think
Hmm.
about it. And I just think she acted really well, and I just liked that movie. Um, you made fun of it a little while ago, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I thought of that
Um,
after I did it.
what if it's on his list? What if it's his number one movie?
I've
Um,
been,
yeah,
I got nothing. I was
it's
using it
it's
as an example, but yeah.
no, it's funny. I think it deserves a spot in my honorable mentions. It's not my favorite movie of the year, but in a span of Marvel movies that have kind of been subpar, I think that one made me feel again like Marvel movies used to. um when kind of Marvel was in its golden era in that Infinity War Endgame time, like the feelings I had watching those kind of movies, those kind of came back to me a little bit watching Guardians
Yeah.
3. I can't imagine. Uh I mean, it's probably the best Marvel trilogy at the end of the day if you really think about it. And just like a good superhero movie in times where you and I have been struggling with them. I think it was well written. I like that it centered around Rocket Raccoon, and he kind of got his time to shine outside of Star Lord. It wasn't a Star Lord movie; it was like a Rocket movie. But
Hmm.
everybody kind of got their moment in it, and it just ended well. It wrapped really good. I just really liked that movie.
Yeah.
Um, what else do I got? Boy and the Heron didn't make my top five, but it was a like you kind of just described that comic book. Like I can't really tell you about it because I don't know, but I know when I was watching it I was
Hmm.
like stuck to the screen. A lot
Yes.
of it just has to do with the magic of Studio Ghibli's animation. Just everything is so visually beautiful and like
Yeah.
sucks you in, and you're like, how are they animating like this? How does this look like this? Like how does other stuff not look like this? I don't know how he's pulling this off. It just looks so good, and like I don't know. And I'd love to rewatch it again. I plan to when it becomes home viewing, so I can kind of like dial in and try to maybe retain more of what I watched. I just know I was loving it while I was watching it, so I got to include it in honorable mentions. Um, I don't know. That's pretty much it. Besides that, I liked um what's the movie I just watched and I didn't write it down. It's on Netflix with Julia Roberts.
Oh, no one.
Leave the World
Leave the
Behind.
world behind. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I don't know if you saw that one. It was
Every, every single person that I know that watched it
mhm.
hated it. So
Okay.
you telling me right now that you liked it is the first person that I've heard in real life say, I dug it.
I thought it was good, man. I thought it was I liked the performances mostly. I mean, it had some parts where it was like kind of like little weird delivery and dialogue, but I mean, Mahershala Ali was good, Julia Roberts was good, Ethan Hawke was good. I like the concept of stuff like that with like the world ending, but it's not zombies. It's not like a plague. It's basically just like a cyber attack on America is what's going to bring us down because that's more realistic than any of those other things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Some
so
stupid kid in a basement fucking around.
yeah, so that kind of had me entertained the entire time. I thought it was good. It's definitely worth a watch. Not didn't make my top five, but I got to mention it here. I'll kind of leave it there. Yeah.
I like it.
Um,
I like it.
what do you got going on for
Let me throw
the
a couple at you. One, which I was very surprised didn't make my top five because the on paper it should be one of my favorite movies, which was Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage, where everyone in the world has a dream about Nicolas Cage, even though he's not Nicolas Cage, but you know what I mean. His character, the whole world has a dream about him, and this movie just follows that journey of what does that look like from instant celebrity to toxicity to whatever else happens. Nicolas Cage was awesome in that movie, like he normally is. He really took you through a lot, but I wanted more from the movie, so I really couldn't. I was disappointed in it, but it's still worth watching. Like there's a lot of good in it, but I just wanted more from the story. Another one that I rewatched because I was like, this should be in my top five. But when I saw it in theaters earlier in the year, I hated it. But I hadn't stopped thinking about it all year, and that was Infinity Pool. And I kept thinking about this movie, and I'm like, I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd. Why am I still thinking about this movie that I left the theater saying meh, but I keep thinking about it. So I rewatched it this week and I liked it a lot more knowing what it is, but I still want more from it. So I still just couldn't quite pull that trigger and make that there. May, December, over on Netflix with Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore was really good. It's kind of out of the realm of what I normally watch, being about a story where Natalie Portman is an actress visiting Julianne Moore and her husband because she is going to play Julianne Moore in a made for TV movie about how her and her husband met, which was she was 36 and he was like 13. So it was kind of like crazy, but Charles Melton, who plays her husband in that movie, is amazing. Like he he just did things in that movie that I was just like, all right, keep my ears open for when Oscars roll around because that dude needs to be nominated for something, and he probably will. But I really enjoyed that movie a lot more. And any other given day that I could see it cracking my top five because watched it like 2 weeks ago and I'm still thinking about it, which is always kind of a rare sign. Do you have something?
No, I was just gonna say when we watched I was gonna watch that. I haven't gotten to it yet, but like when we watched the trailer for it, we were like, "Is this the Mary Kay Letourneau story?" Like, remember that?
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
it's
very,
like,
yeah, it's very inspired by
yeah.
but the way that they did it and the vibe and the music, it had a thing that kind of just kept me there. And there's a little bit of dark comedy mixed in with a very heavy story, but it was told in a really just a really good way. And like I said, you had Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore, which are two outstanding actresses. And like I said, Charles Melton just kind of carried it along with them. And it was just it was surprisingly for a Netflix movie, pretty damn good.
Okay.
Another one I stumbled upon on Amazon that I absolutely loved, but I just couldn't justify putting on this list is There's Something Wrong with the Children. I just put it on a whim, and by the end of that movie, I was like, I loved this movie. Like I laughed. It's a horror movie, but it was just like everything was done in ways that I really enjoyed. Um, so that's a cool horror one that I did like. And last one I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in, and I tried really hard to keep it on my top five. I just couldn't do it at the end of the day. And I know everybody hated this movie, but what almost made my top five is Exorcist Believer. And I know everyone hated that movie. I loved that movie. Everything that they did right for me. I I can't I need to talk to someone who hates it for what it is. Like I looked up why everyone hated it after I watched it and it was all nonsense. Like they were just mad that a character had an abortion. Like in the past it wasn't even present. It was just like, "Oh, they have a message, they have an agenda, they're pro-life." And I'm like, "What? That's why you guys all hated this movie?" Like that was every review on Letterbox was just talking about how they were preachy. And I'm like, I didn't get that at all. Like it was all
Mhm.
stupid stuff. And I thought that movie, I was here for everything that that movie did. The pace, everything was great. I really enjoyed that movie. I just couldn't justify it making my top five. I
Fair
tried.
enough.
I wanted to still talk about it because it ain't on anyone's list.
No, you might be the first.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that groundbreaking moment almost is what kept it on my top five, but I did come to my senses.
Fair enough.
You ready for our top five?
This is the moment.
This
This is
is the
what we,
moment.
yeah.
You want to
To
go
remind
first with
everyone.
your top five
Yeah, sure.
or your number five?
Number five.
We're gonna
Yeah, we're
back and
gonna
forth this.
count these down, best movies of the year. Now, granted, I'll also disclaimer this by saying I didn't see everything this year. Chris didn't see everything this year. We got a lot of stuff on our list that we still haven't gotten to. So these are just our personal lists. We're not like, Siskel and Ebert over here who get paid to go see every movie. I would love that, but
Yeah.
that's not our lives.
And if you want that to be our lives, shoot us over some money, like, subscribe to the show, hit us up on
Yeah,
all our socials at Raised A Geek, the normal spiel.
maybe one day.
Maybe one day, but right now, nah.
Yeah,
So these are our favorite movies in which we saw this year,
yeah,
and when Oscar season rolls around, maybe we'll have another discussion.
for sure. Okay, that being said, my number five movie of 2023 is going to be Air, AIR. You can watch it over on Prime Video. It's available there. It's like a Prime original. Um, yeah, man, I put off seeing this movie for a while, even though I'd heard good things, and everyone who is aware of it, it's like the story of um, the executives at Nike who invented the first Air Jordan shoe. It's a Ben Affleck directed film. I just really enjoyed this movie, man. I thought it was. I kind of knew the story behind it, but I didn't know all the little details and like all
Hmm.
the stuff that goes into it. And it's starring people, um, you
That
know,
shouldn't be in that movie.
right? Like, well, yeah, Matt Damon's the lead. He's like the main guy who came up with the idea for the Jordan and worked for Nike at a time when Nike was number three or number four behind Adidas, and everyone in the NBA was wearing Converse, and Nike couldn't get anybody, and they're like this fledgling company that might go under. And Ben Affleck plays the president of Nike, and Jason Bateman's in this movie, which to me that he was like the standout performance in this. Like, love me some Bateman, but he really, a scene in there sometime where he was having like a heart to heart with Matt Damon was like great. It's like this dude's a really good actor. But I just like the movie, man. I like the story. I like the performances. I like the Viola Davis played Michael Jordan's mother, and she was really good in it.
She's always good.
Yeah. I do enjoy that they had an actor playing Michael Jordan, but you never saw his face.
Hmm.
Every time he was in a scene, like his back was turned or he was at a board meeting and like the camera was behind him. So like this movie is about the Air Jordan, but it's not about Michael. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's about the phenomenon of him. And
Hmm.
like so him being front and center and being like a main character was kind of secondary. It was more of a focus on just the other people who made the Air Jordan to the shoe that it now is, like the number one selling shoe, whatever. And it's about like how important his mother was in playing the role of Michael getting a piece of the shoe sales, which had never been done before.
Hmm.
But Nike was like so desperate to get him that they were the first to agree to it, and it kind of changed the way athletes are paid for their
Hmm.
likeness and their name and their shoes or whatever. So I don't know, man. It was just I think a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, that's gonna be my number five pick of the year.
I like it. Yeah, that was a good movie. I
Hmm.
liked all the 80s and 90s nostalgia in there, and they really made it feel like you were there at that time, which was awesome.
Yeah.
My number five. My number five is The Holdovers. Feel like I'm gonna watch that movie every Christmas. Something about it was really, really good. I really enjoyed, like I said, for those that don't know about what The Holdovers is, it's streaming now on Peacock, I believe, which was where I watched it, but it's got Paul Giamatti as a grumpy professor who kind of is just kind of like a Scrooge, I guess, for lack of a better word. And he is tasked with basically watching over all the kids that don't go home for the holidays. So it's a very Christmas takes place from those 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's. So it's a very holiday movie, a very Christmas movie, and it was, the students, Paul Giamatti, and then Mary, one of the chef who stays behind, and just kind of learning their story and how they're similar and how they're different, and it just was really kind of heartwarming without being stereotypical or hitting all those like Christmas Carol tropes. Like it has nothing to do with like the Christmas Carol, but that type of you grumpy man around Christmas sees the light, and that's not really what it was about. And it was very heartwarming, and I felt really good when it ended. And as I said a couple times with some of these other ones, I just keep thinking about it. I'm like, I want to watch it again. So that made my number five. I really dug it, and I couldn't justify the Holdovers not making my list, but Exorcist Believer making it. I just couldn't do it. I thought about it real heavy, and I was like, I just can't do it.
Word, understandable.
What you got for number four?
Number four on my list might be a movie you guys are familiar with. It's called The Holdovers.
I
uh,
had a feeling that was going to happen.
yeah, we knew it had to cross over at some point. Yeah, all the things you said, I agree. It was just I just watched it a few days ago too, but I mean, great movie, man. You can't deny it. Paul Giamatti is a treasure.
Yeah,
Everything he's in, like the dude just brings it as an actor.
but it always seems like he has a role like this, like the last one, and I just looked it up, and it was 20 years ago. But like Sideways, he
Mhm.
came out with
Same
Sideways.
director, same
Oh,
director
is it the
as
same director?
Alexander Payne. Yeah,
Okay, that's why Peacock wanted me to watch Sideways afterwards. Um,
yeah.
but it just seems like Paul Giamatti likes to just kind of fly under the radar,
Hmm.
and then he pops up in a movie that just everyone needs to see, and all of a sudden he's like a treasure again. But then he's been doing stuff, but I haven't seen it.
I think she might be an angel. He's a he's on that show like Billions or one of those
Hmm.
shows.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, the guy, you forget how good of an actor he is until he does something like this. The kid was good, like the
hmm.
teenager he was with, even though I think that was they said like introducing, so that might have been his first acting job, which was pretty amazing for being that. Um, and then like you said, the chef, who's the third other main character, she was really good too. I think she's probably gonna get brought up in like supporting actress talk along
Yeah,
with Paul Giamatti. Um,
and she should. I always like her. Yeah, Divine Joy Rudolph. I always enjoy
mhm.
her in everything that she
Yeah,
pops up in. So it was nice to see her on this level,
yeah, but just kind of like echoing what you said, just a feel good movie. You don't get a lot of those anymore. Just
right?
something you can sit down and feel good about watching, and it makes you feel warm inside. You're not worried about something too crazy happening. Like something's gonna happen where they have to get through their troubles, but it's not like somebody's dying or something's whatever. It's just like I can sit here for 2 hours and just enjoy myself, and it feels good, and it's Christmassy, and um, I'm laughing a little bit, but also like paying attention to the drama of it. It was just made me feel good. So I definitely wanted to include it on this list. That's why I have it at number four, The Holdovers.
I hear that. I hear that.
What about
My
you?
number,
What's number four? Number four.
my number four is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal. I've seen that movie a couple times this year. It came out earlier in March. I love this movie. It is so good. For those that don't know, this is a Guy Ritchie movie, which I usually do dig Guy Ritchie movies, but it's definitely not his normal vibe. Normally, he kind of does those London gangsters, fast cuts, and does this where this is kind of just like a war movie. But it's Jake Gyllenhaal. It takes place during the Afghanistan war, and he is a sergeant running his platoon, and it ends up where him and his translator get stranded and are trying to just survive the Taliban, and that's really it. There's other things to it, but it's best to not know like exactly where it goes. And it just tells a great story of just what people will do for each other, even if they don't know each other, to survive. It's just a survival story, war story. It's just I've seen, like I said, I've seen it a couple times. Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, he's usually kind of under not underrepresented, but he just usually doesn't always get the love. Like he'll make some stuff and people will be like, "Oh, it was so great," but nobody watches it. And then every
Mhm.
once in a while he pops out with something and you're just like, "Man, Jake Gyllenhaal." And this was one where he was outstanding in this movie, and I've like I said, I always want to just keep watching it over and over again. It's just a great story of human survival, and it's done in a way that Guy Ritchie does, and it was just different, and it stuck with me all year that I was making this list. I was like, it's on here somewhere. It's moved up and down the list as to where it actually sits as I watch more movies, but I needed to make it on there. It was an outstanding movie.
Very good. Very good. On to
Number
number three.
three.
All right, three left here each. Um, my number three movie of 2023 is going to be And I have the list. I just have to remember the order I put them in. Sorry. Okay, I got it. Number three for me is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Um, I mean, we all know what this one is. I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I can't deny it. Just watched it recently too. Story of Oppenheimer, right there in the title, the man who invented the atomic bomb and has a long history. And I don't think anybody really knew the full story or even thought about it until this movie. Um, the performances are great. The cast is huge. You all know it. Like Killian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. and Matt Damon again popping up. What a good year for him, and Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh. But like at the heart of this, I think is just Christopher Nolan. Um, his movies are just so good, man. Just like I don't know how that dude makes stuff like this. He's just there were a couple moments in this movie where I'm sitting there watching it and just like, is he a genius? Like, is he a genius just with filmmaking, the way things are shot and like how things come in and he wrote and directed this. I think he does that or maybe not all of them, but a few of them, like he's written and directed, right?
I
Or at
think
least
most
had
of them, yeah.
a hand in the writing and directing. So he like this is his baby and his vision. Just like his movies are just so good, and this one is no exception. I think Killian Murphy had a standout performance. I would be shocked if he doesn't win something for this. He's just like kills it with his emotion and facial expressions and reaction to things and just I don't know, man. I it's long, but that's one of the things you and me talk about was like, why are movies so long? But this was one where it's like I'm okay with it because I'm good. I'm just enjoying myself and feeling educated at the same time. And there's a lot of big words, but I'm following along, and I just feel like it was a masterwork film. So, um, yeah, I definitely had to have Oppenheimer here. It was just a matter of where, but for me, it's number three on this list, and I'm good with that. So there we go. What about you?
My number three was a film called Polite Society with it's over on Amazon. It's actually an I believe it's an Indian film. It definitely takes place with an Indian family. It's in English, so if you're worried about that, this movie was awesome. And I went in knowing nothing except for people talked about it. I think I saw it on like Obama's favorite movies of 2023, and I was like, "What is that?" I always saw the cover, but never really knew what it was or didn't think about it. And I think last Saturday was like, it's on Amazon. I'm just going to put this thing on. And I loved everything about this movie. Once again, I knew nothing. If you watch the trailer for this movie, it ruins everything. Like they tell you everything. And going in knowing very little, the only thing I knew about this movie was that it was about a girl who wants to be a stunt woman who tries to stop the arranged wedding marriage of her older sister. So she gets her friends together and they bust a heist to free her sister from the bonds of marriage. That's all I knew about it. I was kind of expecting like a feel good sister growing coming of age tale and it was going to be, good and wholesome. It was so not what I expected it to be. It was like a Scott Pilgrim martial arts Indian Bollywood. Like it was just a spectacle that I enjoyed so damn much, and there were moments in which this was much higher than number 3 for me. Like I really think this is one of the movies that I watched this year that I could watch like over and over again. It just really checked off all of my boxes for what I want in a movie, and it was just so well done, acted, written, performed, edited, filmed. Like it was just a great, outstanding movie.
Nice.
Don't
Yeah,
watch the
man.
trailers if that sounds like anything. Don't watch the trailer. The trailer gives it all away. And
Chris
I
said
watched the
just watch
trailer.
it.
Yeah, I watched the trailer afterwards and was like, "Oh my god, they just
Yeah.
completely just give you everything." And it was a lot more fun to watch it not knowing where it was going to go.
You're a proponent of not watching trailers anyway, so
If I can help
that's
it,
that's especially true here, huh?
definitely true here with it being, especially sometimes with the movies that aren't as known,
Mm-hmm.
then they really want to like show you everything that it has to offer to get you to watch it. But sometimes, the story you ruin it. And
Hmm.
when you watch it without knowing anything and then see how the story unfolds where you're actually questioning what's happening, what's real, what's happening, it just makes for such a better experience. Obviously, it's the experience that the filmmaker wants you to have, but the
Yeah,
marketing departments just ruin it. And I think that was definitely one. I watched the trailer afterwards going, and the couple people I told to watch that movie, I said, don't watch the trailer, just trust me and watch the movie. um,
sure.
and I got back a couple feedback saying that they loved it. So it's definitely one worth, I think, checking out if you like kind of actiony Scott Pilgrim. If you like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, watch
Sure.
Polite Society.
Still trying to make my way through the Scott Pilgrim animated TV show that's going on, but like we said earlier, it's hard to get through TV.
Yeah, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Number two.
On to number two. Best film of 2023, number two, the second best film of 2023 to me, my favorite, in my favorites, um, is a movie we've already talked about on this show, but it was probably my best time at the theaters I had this year. And that would be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Um, yeah, I mean, what we heap this movie in praise already, but I mean, I just thought it was a fantastic movie. Similar to video games, I put Spider-Man in there, so Spider-Man's in my films, but this is a Miles Morales story who has grown to be, almost as important as Peter Parker to me. The first Spider-Verse movie, like Into the Spider-Verse, I really enjoyed too, and I'm sure it was on my list last year. Um,
And I
but
know
yeah,
we
just
both put it at number one on our Spider-Man ranking.
yeah, so like these animated Spider-Man movies are better than live action, like the live action ones to us. Who would have ever thought that? But just everything about this movie is just, fun and visually stimulating and makes you care about Miles and Gwen Stacy and um the villains in this one, like Spider-Man 2099, and they made me care about the Spot, like Jason Schwartzman voicing I didn't know him or care about him, but like this movie made me care about him. Just like, I don't know, the action is what you would expect. Visually it's just a great time, and I couldn't leave it off. Like, it's didn't make my number one, but it was close. I was thinking about it. um I think when all is said and done and we finally get the third movie of this trilogy, it's probably going to be like one of my favorite superhero property trilogies ever made. It's gonna be better than any live action superhero thing I think I've seen after this is all said and done and the story is told. It's just that good. I mean, everyone listening out there, I'm sure you've seen it and know it, and hopefully you agree. And if you haven't seen it yet, what's wrong with you? Go watch it. Just a fantastic movie, man. Love Spider-Man. Love this movie.
I hear that. I
Yeah,
hear that. That movie is forever cursed for me though,
I know. It's
because when
when
I
it's when you got your taillights stolen. So
yeah, when they stole my taillights while I was at the movies.
yeah.
Stupid Spider-Man. No, but I can definitely mirror what you said. It is an outstanding movie, but it is not my number two.
What do you got?
My number two should come as no surprise. Godzilla minus one.
Another movie we've talked about here.
We did talk
Go,
about this here. We did
go
give
check
our
it out.
thoughts. Definitely check it back out. I saw this movie 3 times in theaters, which is insane. The third time I was kind of voluntold to by my sister, but I still didn't regret going to see it again. So I just talked about it at length in during our review of it, but it just was what I wanted in a Godzilla movie. I felt that the human story I cared about, Godzilla stuff was done in a way that just haven't seen in a long time. Some of those scenes are just becoming iconic in my brain. Just everything about that movie clicked and worked for me, and I just kind of want more of that. And I've watched a ton of Godzilla movies since I went and saw that. Turner Classic Movies was playing all the old ones on New Year's Day, and I was sitting there watching them while I was doing stuff. It just really was just an outstanding movie. Like again, all my thoughts are in that episode, so if you're definitely interested in that, go back and check that out. But I loved Godzilla minus one, man. It was a movie for me. Being a huge Godzilla fan, it delivered.
I thought this was going to be on your list, so I was just waiting to see where it was going to be, number one or number
Hmm.
two.
Hmm.
You're a Godzilla man.
I am a Godzilla man, and seeing it 3 times in theaters. I mean, and it being like a day one purchase on physical media when it comes out, it's just a no brainer.
Yeah.
To be in my top five, like that's I enjoyed it. It that one once again where it fell might have moved around a little bit, but it is going to be on there.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
What's your number one, buddy?
Oh my God, we made it to number ones.
We made it to number one, and I'm like sitting here thinking about the movies, and I'm just like, what the hell's his number one?
um. Okay, you want to just do it?
Just do it, man.
All right.
Rip off the band-aid.
Number one movie of the year to me, 2023 is Rebel Moon. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Just kidding. No, number one movie of the year to me, it's Barbie, Greta Gerwig's Barbie. Yeah, man, and part of it is I can't even really tell you why. I just know watching it that I just thought it was great filmmaking. Um, I loved the way it looked. I loved the performances. I thought Ryan Gosling like killed it as Ken. Like he was hilarious and amazing. Margot Robbie just like pitch perfect as Barbie. I mean, who else is Barbie?
Right.
um, I know a lot of people like there's people out there who didn't like this movie. I think those people are idiots who didn't like. I mean, it depends on why you didn't like it. If you didn't like it for the reasons where a lot of people didn't like it because it's like a man hating whatever, then you need to like go out and touch grass because that's not a movie can be empowering for another um person that's not somebody you identify with and still be have a good message and you can just watch and listen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can observe and it doesn't have to be something that is whatever. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But and also at the same time it's like people want to call it feminist or whatever it is. It did have a lot of feminist messages, but also if you go outside of your comfort zone and think about it and like think about I don't know if you even saw Barbie, but like so I'll try not to be too spoiler if you didn't, but
No, I watched it last night.
okay. The way that Barbie's treated Kens and people didn't like that, it's like, okay, but that's also the way that men kind of treat women in this
Hmm.
real world. So it's like, just kind of look in the mirror a little bit and just enjoy this for what it is. I don't know, but the performances I loved. Simu Liu was great. Michael Cera was hilarious. Um, who was the act? I can't think of Kate McKinnon. Every scene she was in, she was funny. But I don't know. I was entertained by that movie more from beginning to end than any other movie this year, and I didn't think I would be. It kind of surprised me how good I think that movie was. Um, so yeah, that was my favorite movie of the year. Barbie. Who would have thought?
I was about to say, I mean, would 12-year-old Don be like, when I'm 40,
I gotta like
Barbie's gonna be my
Transformers and
favorite
GI
movie?
Joe, right?
Yeah.
But like, come on, man. This is a movie about a toy, a little girl's toy that is just like different. And like when they announced a Barbie movie, I didn't think it was gonna be that complex and that much of a message and um just that interesting. I just was very interested in the routes they took and the choices they made, and I just thought it was really good movie. So yeah, definitely made me want to watch more Ryan Gosling stuff because I know there's a
Dude.
bunch of things he's done throughout the years that I haven't seen. Like I've never seen Blade Runner. The newer one. I know he's supposed to be really good in that, and he's made a bunch of stuff. Like, dude, this guy is fucking good at his job.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Dude, I watched, and I know I've probably said it before, I watched La La Land, and I needed to watch everything that he did. Him and Emma Stone, like that movie made me fans of both of them. And now
mhm,
it's just like Emma Stone's in a movie. I'm in love with Emma Stone. I want to watch everything she does. I'm in love with Ryan Gosling. I want to watch everything he does, and it doesn't really matter. And yeah, he's in a movie that's like enough for me. I always
mhm,
dug some of his older stuff. I mean, Drive was always a cool one. I did go see Blade Runner. Um, and really enjoyed that. But it's just like I really have enjoyed everything he did. But yeah, La La Land kind of opened that door for me, and I watched him in that movie, and I was like, holy shit, who is this dude?
mhm,
Stuff he does, yeah, and he was outstanding as Ken. Like as they talk about Margot Robbie being like Barbie, he pretty much was Ken, even though you could probably say he was a little a little too old or whatnot, he still just nailed that role.
Oh yeah,
Like
it was perfect casting, 100%.
I can, yeah, the casting for that movie you can't say shit about.
Nope. Yep. So yeah, there. That's me. What about you? Number one. What do you got?
Suspense. I was debating if I wanted to do some joke like you just did with yours, but I'm just gonna go for it. My number one, which is one that was on your list, but it is Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was a tour de force movie that I don't think there was anything like it this year. Like that movie was just insane. It didn't feel like 3 hours, as you said. It just flew by. I've been trying to watch Killers for the Flower Moon for like past week, and I still can't get through it um, because I keep falling asleep. And that one feels like 3.5 hours, and I want to finish it. And I'm not shitting on that movie in any way, but definitely coming back around, this 3 hours just flew by, and everything about that movie, like you said, Cillian Murphy doesn't win awards. That's ridiculous. He was outstanding in that movie. Like there was nothing you didn't feel that he was conveying. You felt every emotion that that dude went through. Um, and there was so much more to it than I expected there to be. Like there was so much more of the story going into him and like the things he was going through and all the levels in which he actually was and the politics of the era and just so much going on in that movie. I need to watch it again just to like keep track of all the characters and where they were going, but I didn't, even if I didn't really know, it was very, like you said, Christopher Nolan, where sometimes there were some quick cuts and they were just jumping from moment to moment. And you just had to be like, I'm along for this ride. And nobody makes movies like that. Nobody makes movies like Christopher Nolan, where you just are like, you sit down and you just go along and you might have to watch it a couple times to really grasp it. This one didn't have like big wild ideas like Tenet, where I've seen that one like 3 times. I still don't know what that movie's about. Um, this one you obviously can follow a little bit more, but there was still so much to it and so many characters and so many levels, and it just I was glued to the screen the whole time and couldn't stop watching it and couldn't stop thinking about it, and it was just an outstanding movie that took me way too long to watch. Way too long to watch. And I knew it was a crime that I did took me as long as it did to watch it, but once I did, I was like, there's no doubt in my mind that this was, it might be some recency bias on it, but might be numbers might shift around if you ask me tomorrow. But today, this is where it fell, is just being an outstanding movie. And I don't think there's anything like it. It was just something for a biopic. It was definitely something different, man. And even when you
Oh yeah.
know how it's going, he still sucked you into the moment. And that's hard to do. So Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, my number one, man. It passed up
Sure.
Godzilla. You needed the Oppenheimer to create Godzilla. So, you had to,
Chris is obsessed with atomic bombs, ladies and
apparently
gentlemen.
2023 was the year of atomic bombs for Chris in his top 5 movies.
Very good.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
man. Good
that was
list.
where I
Good
went.
list.
That was where I went.
Okay.
So what are your favorite movies? What did we miss? What did we get wrong? What did we get right? Share them with us over on social media at Raised A Geek. We're on all platforms. Let us know what you thought about 2023 and some of your favorite pieces of content, whether it be movies, comics, games, TV, whatever you want to share with us. Let us know. We'd love to hear from it, or you can shoot us an email over at raisedageek@gmail.com.
Yes.
And
All
we're
those places.
all those places. We're looking for those reviews. Hit us up with all those things. Don, do you have any final thoughts about 2023
Well, I'm
content,
just
anything that you're super excited about? What's your most excited movie coming in out in 2024 that's already at the top of your mind that you're just waiting for it?
I'd have to think about that one. Caught me off guard there.
I
I
know.
don't know. I
Dune
can,
2.
oh yeah, Dune 2 is coming. We're gonna have to see Dune 2. But
I
yeah,
know.
these lists we crossed over on Oppenheimer and Holdovers. That's two that I guess if you guys haven't seen them, we both love those.
Yeah.
But we named some good ones. I can't believe neither one of us named The Flash. Are you kidding me? Um,
Did
that's
you?
a joke.
Yeah, I know.
That's a joke.
I thought about that was the movie I had in my mind that you did a Rebel Moon at. My number one movie, The Flash.
Yeah, but man, good lists. I liked it.
Can you believe
Mm-hmm.
that we made it through 2023?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of The Flash, neither one of us, there's a new Michael Keaton Batman movie. out in the world that we could watch right now, and neither one of us have watched it.
It's the Ezra Miller effect, man.
I know. That'd be
He's
another thing. 12-year-old Don, if you'd be
yeah.
like, hey, Michael Keaton was Batman again when I was 40.
Like I'm
But
gonna
I
go
didn't
see that
watch
opening
it.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
No,
appeared in another movie called Batgirl that just got shelved by the studio and will never be seen by the light of day.
that's
So
insane. Insane.
isn't it?
2023 was wild, man. We saw
Yeah.
the death of the DCEU.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows? Well, here's to 2024 and more movies and more things and um, good
More
year
things to
for
consume.
nerd entertainment.
Yeah, they keep getting better and better. So I'm definitely pumped to see what we're talking about this time next year
Mm-hmm.
and what were some of our favorite things. I'm sure Doom 2 will be, if that would have came out in October, my whole list might have looked different.
Writer strike, man.
It happens. Writers and actors needed to get
Yeah.
paid, so they got paid. So make it work. But once again, closing up 2023, I think that's going to do it for us this week. So for Raised a Geek, I'm Chris.
And I'm Don.
And thanks for checking out the show.
Where geek is all we speak.